Do we expect bad news from Harry? The guest list to King Charles's coronation is a painful slap for Sussex. Hello and a very warm welcome back to LVT News YouTube. 2,000 people from all around the world are soon gonna get a letter from King Charles III and Queen Camilla. The invitation to the coronation on May 6, which has been unveiled today, is not what people may have been expecting. So the late Queen Elizabeth coronation invitation was very formal and even by the standards of 1953 was pretty old-fashioned. It looked like the kind of thing that Victoria may have issued for her eventful, almost disastrous ceremony nearly. The implication was pretty clear, mostly that her reign was going to be a formal, decorous one, firmly in keeping with the high ideals of her predecessors, and, looking back, it was very appropriate considering her highly successful time upon the throne. But if the late Queen had been able to see what her son had come up with, she may have let out a gasp of surprise and then of course smiled. The invitation that was designed by the artist Andrew Jameson is a riot of color and celebration. There's a lot going on. It's got the 4 national flowers of the UK, the rose, shamrock, thistle and daffodil, and it also has the coats of arms of both King Charles and Queen Camilla. The invitation makes a point of inviting the guests to the coronation of their majesties. It is obvious that this is going to be a dual monarchy. It won't be the constitutionally unequal relationship between Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, something that apparently caused problem throughout their marriage. The design also pays homage to Charles's own invitation to his mother's coronation that was sent when he was only 4 years old. It was less formal than the official version of the invitations. It was colorful and it depicted soldiers, trumpeters and even a lion and a unicorn amidst verdant foliage. Jameson claims that he didn't see the prince's invitation, but the design is pretty well known. Reproductions are easy to get from the royal collection, and it is inevitable that Charles was wanting to summon up some memories of his own joyful experiences 70 years. There is also something a little less predictable there too. Something a little more pagan. At the bottom of the artwork is the prominent symbol of a green man. Now this is a representation of rebirth and of spring emerging out of winter in darkness. Even though the artist has referred to its inclusion as just a fancy, the symbolic representation of what is obviously intended to be a new reign for a new kingdom is hardly there by accident. King Charles has been getting ready for a hidden as monarch for decades now, and ever since his daring king's speech last Christmas. We have been briefed that he's going to be a whole different kind of king. Somebody attuned both to the demands of the modern world and also very much still entitled with an almost mystical sense of what is. It should come as no surprise to find out that the king has seen Jez Butterworth play Jerusalem itself, imbued with a mythic love of the UK as well as this history and lore. In the middle of all this excitement and optimism, though, there is something that's going to be quite difficult, and of course it comes in the form of Prince Harry. Harry still hasn't made any public comment on whether or not he's going to come to the coronation, and with the event only a few weeks away, it seems inevitable that he's going to have made up his mind one way or the other by now, surely. Now, Harry claims that he's such a big fan of transparency. But still, the fact that he has refused to announce whether or not he's going to come to his father's coronation, and even whether he's gotten one of the invitations, suggests that he has not finished playing games yet. The invitation might suggest that the ceremony should usher in a whole new era in royal life, but until this particular problem is resolved, it is inevitable that the resentments in the score settling of the past is going to continue to dominate. Meanwhile, back to Harry's book. Does he not realize that lying about an attack is a very serious crime indeed? They have been making these allegations without any evidence for 3 years now. And if the story is based on truth at all, we can assume that Prince William called Harry as he reported, and Harry didn't want to talk anymore about Meghan being blamed for her bullying. And Harry doesn't even deny that. So according to Harry, Williams then showed up at the cottage at Kensington Palace, which was just a little wall from his apartment, and William was trying to explain why the staff wasn't going to be treated that way and why he wasn't going to stand for them being bullied, and Harry expects us to believe that he remained calm, and he simply pointed out that William was believing what the taboos were. But Harry also claims that William just wouldn't drop it, that he went on and on about it happening in his office with some of his employees and other people heard it too. But the funny thing about it is the bullying part did happen. Harry even admitted during his interviews that yes, indeed Meghan kept freebies, but she supposedly shared them. At a few times, staff members were crying at their desks because they were being requested to work around the clock and the stress was just too much to handle before the wedding, and after all the problems with Meghan's family and the tabloids, they simply did not have enough staff or hours in the day to put out all the fires that were popping up. In Harry's own words, people were asked to put out all those fires and work even more hours. Only about 10% of the stories could possibly be addressed. There just was not a nice way to explain what was necessary, and people felt very stressed out. To be clear, many were not even staff who were working for Harry and Meghan. Instead, Harry and Meghan were loaning the staff, and when employees were hired, they were checked out and hired, and they were filling a position that described their job and hours and days and what the salary would be. Now I can imagine two brothers arguing. Prince William is saying it's over. This simply is not working out. William was just trying to say that, no, you can't yell at the staff. You can't be cruel to them or the office help either. Let's remember we heard it from Harry himself that Meghan insulted Catherine a few times, but supposedly it was not intentional. I can say that shaking your brother a little bit or maybe shoving him a little bit while you're both arguing is not something strange. It's not some kind of earth-shattering event that changes the whole world. Most people have argued with their siblings. Most people have raised their voices, and most people have had a pillow fight or maybe even got into a wrestling match on a few occasions. I did think it was pretty interesting though that a few people answered this question by posting tabloid news about William having a real temper problem and raising his voice. Well, alright, is that really even the truth? And even if that is the truth, has no one ever raised their voice to their spouse or their partner? We already know that Harry is guilty of hitting people when he feels angry. He's punched people. He's slapped them, he's chased them, he's kicked them, he's even broken cameras, and he has given people fat lips, black eyes. I'm going to provide some proof of that too, and no, not when he was just a teenager. But Harry's fans expect US to allow him to let that slide because he lost his mother 2 weeks before he turned 13. Well, William had just turned 15, so please tell me, what is the age at which hitting becomes inappropriate? Or what about using racial slurs to fellow officers, to comedians, to people in the public? At what age can Harry be held accountable for his actions? He has hit his own bodyguards not only one and not only one time either. He's admitted to using drugs while he was in the military and getting privileges by being gone during drug testing. Harry is guilty of underage drinking, throwing bottles at people when he was 22 years old, going to naked parties when he was 28 years old. He should have known better. I could go on, but Harry's fans are going to try to excuse his behavior, saying, oh, he was just trying to grow up. But he was still showing his horrible temper in 2016 when he admitted that his brother said, "You need therapy. It's a lot better than hitting people." Harry even said that, making him the ripe old age of 32 and 33. He's not a child anymore, and this is information that came from Harry himself. So no, we're not making it up. Harry was really angry. So if Harry were to file a lawsuit against William for shaking him up, that would mean a lawsuit in his word against Williams, and who knows what William would say. He could probably say something like Harry grabbed his arm or he did something to him. And so as a result, he gave him a push and he went down. Most course would just be shaking their heads at that. Harry also claimed that his necklace got broken and that it had both his children's heartbeats on it. Well, that's not true. There was no lily bed even in the plan, yet artificial also wasn't even born, so there's no way he could have had Lily that's heartbeat. Come on. But tragically, Harry's brain doesn't work very well. He gets very confused and he gives his truth as he refers to it. Harry claims that memory curates as it sees fit, and that's an admission after his claims were debunked The prince suggested that his memory was no longer recording things quite as it once did as a defense mechanism. While Harry, last time I checked, that means your memory is